Specialty Metals was started by my father about 30 years ago. He was working for another stainless steel company at the time, and then time came, he saw the need to fill a space that wasn't being filled by local companies. So Specialty Metals was born in the back room of a house in Northbridge near Perth. We were trading materials and basically buying and selling and delivering to various customers. That developed into moving out to Welshpool, to where we are today. We used to be a predominantly stainless steel company doing flat bar, round bar, welding consumables. We tend not to do much of that these days. Now our core business is semi-finished round bar products, welding wires, sheet plate, specialising mainly in the exotic alloys like titanium and nickel based. About 25 years ago, I came in and my dad asked me to jump on the angle grinder, so I've done a lot of grinding, more grinding and more grinding. Progressed onto the plasma cutter, so I've done a lot of plasma cutting. I've done a lot of delivery work. I've been doing a lot of warehouse purchasing in that role. And over time I came into the office and developed from there, basically becoming the internal salesperson, the warehouse purchasing manager, and then eventually becoming the external salesperson. And since then I've moved on to full-time management, and I've been doing that ever since. My role entails overseeing the warehouse, the admin side of things, customer service, IT, security, all those kinds of things that come with a small business. Well, the services we offer specifically for non-standard items would be to help people procure the really niche market things, special alloys, corrosion-resistant alloys, high-temperature-resistant alloys, those kinds of materials that are not normally found in Australia. We've got a very extensive network worldwide, and we certainly utilise them. We've got quality systems in place. Every bit of alloy or any bit of bar that comes in, we positively identify. We have an XRF gun, so we would take delivery of whatever material it might be, we'll x-ray it. If we're cutting to size, we'll cut the bar, we'll hard stamp it, we'll label it. We'll keep electronic copies of the material certs on file. We'll supply our own material certs with every order. Nothing will go out the door without a cert or a hard stamp or a label. So traditionally we're a supplier to the oil and gas and mining sectors, a bit into the education for the universities and the R&D departments, agricultural to an extent, and of course defence. And the materials that we supply to them could be anything from the easiest small nut and bolt or bit of bar to a welding wire to a specialised piece of material. So oil and gas is probably the majority of our business. It might be sitting around the 50-60%. Mining sector's certainly quite up there as well, say another 20-30%. We see defence coming online a bit more to take up probably the bulk of the rest of that, and education here and there forms a good part of the R&D side of things. We actually supply all over Australia, not just WA. Of course, we need to focus on our traditional customer base, which is here in WA. We grow our business through other states, and definitely overseas we have quite a few regular customers, and because we have such a diverse range of materials, we get calls from all over the world. Some of the oil and gas customers are second-tier suppliers to the end users, like your BPs and Shells and Chevrons. We certainly supply a lot of material into places like Oceaneering. We'd be supplying through the likes of Civmec, who are doing fabrication and construction. Local industries like ICAD Engineering. We supply a lot of other steel merchants around the country as well. Probably 70% of our product is sold in WA, and directly we would ship out 20% to the eastern states, a little bit overseas, and the rest of it, whatever else is going around, would be through other steel merchants and other machine shops and fabricators and the likes. Recently our exports have been increasing. It's not a huge part of our market, but probably about 10-15% of our revenue would be export driven. We service our neighbours in New Zealand, spreading out to Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore indeed, and a little bit into North America recently, and Madagascar, New Caledonia. When we started Specialty Metals, or certainly when I became the storeman driver for Specialty Metals, I was on HMAS Sterling every other day delivering structural stainless steel to the base. Since then, obviously Defence has gone about their ways to change their procurement process and have gone away from their traditional central buying. So we've been supplying a lot of SMEs that support the defence industry in things like round bar, plate sheet, very specialised forgings, high-end materials that a lot of other people don't really want to know about. Specialty Metals has come a long way since we started. We used to supply, like I said before, just basic stainless steel structural items like flat bars and pipes and tubes and that sort of thing. We've really grown into a market now where we supply a lot of high-end materials into a lot of different markets that are not traditionally looked after by the local other steel merchants in town. So what we see that we've really achieved is to fill a gap in the market that nobody else is really looking after. And we quite enjoy playing in that sector because nobody else is doing a very good job of it. Whether it be something that we think is easy, it's not necessarily easy to find out in the market. Not a lot of other people can do that quite effectively as we do. We see the market has definitely picked up in the last couple of years. When the supposed mining boom came to an end, we did see a downturn probably towards the tail end of that. Being a small, flexible company, we managed to ride those waves quite successfully. We've seen an upturn in the market. Things seem to have gotten back to the norm where they should be. With all the chatter about defence work that's going around at the moment, we've seen signs that the Australian market has definitely gotten back to a level where it needs to be or where it should be, and it can only grow from there. We've been gearing up with our stocks over the last couple of years. We follow what we see as patterns, but they can't always, nobody's got a crystal ball, so we can't guess what people want. So we really do seek customer input. At the same time, we actually put our money where our mouth is, and we will go out of our way and stock materials that we think that is required in the market. Certainly in terms of defence, we know that there's a few materials out there that we need to keep ahead of the curve, so we do take that jump, but it certainly helps with a lot of customer feedback. If we looked towards the future, we would see ourselves possibly in the 3D printing space, although that would compete with our raw product, but that's probably the way of the future. We've been investing in new racking systems, adding in new stocks. We're always continually changing our stock lines. We're very flexible, so if something comes up and somebody says, I need to buy X, Y, Z, the decision makers are there. We can make a decision on the spot, and if we need to jump, we can jump to tailor a stocking program however we need to.